We're here today with Nadia Tarzi, and she's come to do the tour for SAFE at the Met.
I was reading in your National Geographic interview when you said your first trip back to Afghanistan was just a whirlwind of emotion, which I can only imagine. Have you been able to go back several times or at all?
No, I haven't been, and that's a little bit of a thing that's been very frustrating for me. I have two young children, and can't make excuses. Other people do that, even though they have small children. But I went in 2004. It was filmed with my father, and I got to see my grandparents, my family's home, and it was quite amazing because I had never been there. But when I was there, I recognized smells that I had dreamt of, and even the dust and the earth and the water and sounds. It was very interesting. In 2005 I wanted to go, and my father was very worried because he could not pick me up. The way things were happening is that when I would have gone, he could not have picked me up. He didn't want me to be by myself. He was concerned. And then that happened a couple of years. Then last year I didn't want to go because things were, and this year I couldn't go. So hopefully next year, I really want to go back. I also have, I want to work with children. I want to, with the aid of the government and so forth. I think it's really time to educate them. Ever so smoothly, I was going to say. It doesn't have to be like a formal lecture, but because it should be age and grade appropriate. And I've done that in the United States. I've done slide presentation in archaeology, storytelling for kids, and they really get into it. And older grades go like, "Wow, I had no idea this even existed in Afghanistan." And when you talk to Afghan kids, they go, "Wow, I didn't know we had that." And I think children are, we all know children are the future, so they will be the future guardians of these treasures, the docents of all this information and knowledge. So we have to give it to them. And it's not going to be without challenge, because the priority is food. Right now, people in Afghanistan are still starving, And I think as long as people starve, there can't be any peace, and it's really hard to get educated. And it's a very drastic situation right there. So at times I always feel, it's almost like luxury, but it isn't, because it's really about cultural identity. And what has happened for Afghanistan is that there's been a brutal interruption. There's been a disconnect in their cultural identity as a nation, whether it's from an archaeology standpoint, whether it's from a craftsmanship point. Wherever you look, there's been a rip, and we have to mend that. I go to the community in California. I've been here, Washington too, and I don't want to say there's a lack of interest, but it's almost a lack of interest, in the sense there's a lack of information. There's a lack of knowledge, so there's a lack of information, and therefore there's a lack of interest. Sort of like, oh, well, I didn't know, okay. And so there's a lot of work to do. I'm working on a children's book right now. I've been working on it for a while, but we're going to publish it within the next year, and hopefully that will be a really fun and useful tool for many different generations, of ages, and then we have it translated. I think that's something that needs to be made available for children, and their activities too. I would have loved to undertake, like my kids do crafts at school. So how do you get a child engaged in cultural preservation, caring about an object, if the child has never even had the opportunity or the experience to make an object? Whereas if you let them make, and it should be fun, not like a commercial, like now you're a potter. But just letting them experiment with clay and make little bowls and paint them, and then you take them to the Cabo Museum and you say, look at this, you made this, and your ancestor many hundreds of years ago, they did the same thing. But you know what? Some people are trying to break it. People don't want to keep that, and they will want to keep it. I saw it with my own children. That's where I learned it from. So it's very small little things like that, but it's an imprint in people that we need to graciously, over time, with patience, try and bring to them. I had written something about the challenges toward preservation and protection of Afghan archaeology, and a few of the points I had made was lack of education to the youth, but also to the older generation, to Afghan nationals and Afghan Americans, and to focus on the consequences of that lack of knowledge. One is looting, and when you loot, you automatically have a loss of scientific data, in addition to just losing an object, which is catastrophic. And in many cases that we will discuss a little bit later, the loss of ownership, or the denial of title and ownership of an object, nationally speaking, and then apathy due to ignorance, laissez-faire. So that's kind of like in a nutshell what we were talking about, but those are, I think, the main challenges.